Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tonight we're going to be chatting. Well, Les is on. This is our 100th episode.
Is that crazy?
Uh-huh.
You know, I remember when we started this, I was like, we're going to run out of shit to talk about.
Yes.
And it turns out there's still lots to talk about.
Yes.
Like hundreds and hundreds more shows.
Yes. And here we are. I'll do it.
This will be like Seinfeld. This is a show about nothing.
Well, they picked the right guy for it, 'cause here I am. All right. Well, the video's kind of freezing, but hopefully it catches up. Anyway, so we're going to talk about some fun news, and Les is here, so we're going to definitely talk about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we get into fun news, Les, is there any new discoveries on the Bigfoot front?
The last I've heard is there was another Provo.
Bring it in.
The last I heard was there's another Provo Canyon sighting.
Real close. Right up to your
Even
chin.
closer.
Yeah, there you go.
Right in there.
Yeah, we hear Provo Canyon seems to have a lot of action.
Real hot spot.
You know, we went up Provo Canyon and found a ton of really strange tree structures way back off the trail. Really elaborate tree structures. And a lot of people question whether or not those, can be attributed to Bigfoot.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that, about you guys found what looked like it could have been a bed or something.
It's crazy big tree structures.
Unless there's just some...
Yeah, like I can't imagine somebody spending that much time but I guess it's possible.
What would be the return on their investment to hike
Yeah.
out there, make some stuff like that where nobody's going to come across it? It's like, it doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah.
Well, here we are chatting about it.
Yeah, there we go. Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Now we know why.
I would bet that you found nests. There's a guy up in Idaho, and I just caught the story briefly the other day while I was driving. It was on a podcast, and it's fairly recent, like 2019. And he found what he thought was what they call the habitat area, where there was multiple nests, and they look like gigantic bird nests of a
Yes.
sort, with the cedar boughs or the pine boughs all chewed off, or none of them were cut off. They were all broken off and frayed on the ends. That's one thing they noticed, that every branch, every twig, every bough was pretty much shredded off, not cut off. So that right there told them that whatever it was yanking them from the trees or biting them off and making the structure out of it. And they thought that's what they were, nests. It looked like they were.
Yeah, super interesting stuff. So if anybody's out there and wants to go scouting it out, Provo Canyon has quite a few.
We definitely need to go on a Bigfoot hunt soon.
We do.
We definitely, or wait a few months when we can survive a Bigfoot hunt, because right now it's I don't know, nuclear -2 degrees outside, like surface of the sun. But yeah, and then Provo Canyon, that's an interesting one. And of course we need to talk about the Dragon Man skull.
Yes. This is one that I'm quite interested in. It's quite the oddity.
Yeah, it's kind of they're speculating that it's the halfway point between Neanderthal and human, because we've always known that Neanderthals were closely related to humans, but they were different enough to where, I mean, they could breed together, but you'd be able to recognize the difference from way off,
Yeah.
Well, they've I think it was in the teens that they found teeth in a cave in the Denisovan Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And then during World War II, a Chinese laborer for the Japanese army, essentially a prisoner, was working on building a bridge for the Japanese army, and he found a skull, so he hurried up and hid it. And I think he hit it in a well. I'm kind of shooting off the hip with the story, so I'm probably definitely wrong.
You're pretty much spot on, because what it says here is the Japanese invaded northeast China, and there in the 1930s. They were near the bridge in Harbin, the northeast province, and like I said, when one of the workers stumbled across the skull in the river mud.
Why do you think he hit it? Do you think it just looked so different?
A jaunt through history. The Japanese were rough to be prisoners of war for, especially if you were Chinese.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys ever want to read a true horror story, read about Nanking. It makes any other atrocity during World War II seem docile. It was bad enough that the Nazis went, that's crazy.
Yeah. The Nazis.
It was the Nazis that reported it to the rest of the world.
It was Nazi going, man, that's messed up.
Yeah.
It was that bad. But anyway, so they found this skull, and it's kind of the halfway point between now and that shows a distance of travel, because the Denisovan caves are in Russia, kind of Siberian area, and Harbin, China is near Manchuria, which is thousands of miles away from each other. So that shows that the Denisovan man had a substantial area that it covered.
Look how far they would have to go off from Russia all the way down into.
Do they attribute it to like a mass migration, or do they think that there was just so many that they were spread out?
I imagine it's little column A, column B, and it's an interesting theory. There's the two cradles theory that's always been around, and the two cradles theory is that prior to the last ice age, man had branched off, and you had a group that went up north and got trapped by the ice age up north, and and that's your average white person or pale white, and then you had a group that kind of went up into the Fertile Crescent, and that's your I guess it would be more accounted for your kind of Mediterranean, but pre-Mediterranean or proto-Mediterranean, not quite as white, but your actual Caucasians. And then you had the Southern Asia, which spreads a vast, you've got your Middle Easterns, your Indians, and then up into your Asian, and they're a little bit darker skin. And then of course you had the humans that stayed in Africa, and it was just the environment, that changed the skin color. So it's not it's not anything about, whatever. It's just apparently the people up in the snow wanted to match the snow.
Yeah, blend in better.
So they did. It's camouflage, yeah. But anyways, but this throws a question in, was there a migration prior to that? And did the evolution branch out and then come back together? Because nowadays, the human race is on the biological level identical, except for melanin. Mm-hmm. So that would be, if they could discover that maybe this human, mechanical body is the ultimate design for what we do, and so different groups, evolve back in. But let's be honest, more than likely, these are offshoots of the original humans that didn't make it because, the Ice Age ended. They didn't need to be structured like that.
Yeah, it became ineffective.
Yeah, they had a lot of strength, but they didn't have speed, endurance, and agility that was needed. And then you have the mammoth and you had the large animals die off, and then now you're down to hunting elk family instead of woolly families.
Right.
None of the bison that they were hunting.
And big strong guys, they might be better at throwing a spear to mammoth, but they can't chase anything in the deer family.
Yeah, much too fast.
But yeah, it's an interesting thought.
So how many have they found so far?
I think I read they found that we know of 3 skulls, but
Yeah.
And they've carbon dated them to kind of.
okay. So
I thought it says,
Yeah,
series dating back to 146,000 years ago, which is really close to what the numbers that I read earlier was.
yeah, so the minimum age of 146,000 years
Dang.
to up to 309,000 years.
So they left themselves some wiggle room there.
Yeah,
didn't they?
yeah. I was gonna say that's
I mean,
broad swing.
they left more wiggle room than they accounted for not wiggle room.
Literally.
They didn't aim very small on that. But yeah, I don't know. That's interesting to see.
So what are the differences that between this and, say, your modern human?
Okay, well,
Yeah, I was going to say, if you pull that skull back up, you'll see
Yeah,
the
I will-
oversized eye sockets.
Because we have some people who aren't going to be watching this, but
Yeah.
instead listening. So
so I will go ahead and show a picture for those watching, and
because the eye sockets do look
They are extremely large.
like. Do you think they were hollow, or do you think the actual eye was much larger? Because that's kind of terrifying.
No, I'm going to say that it was probably a larger eye.
Oh my god!
either a larger eye or just a smaller skull.
Okay, so it does have a low brow, but look at the size of it has a low forehead, a sloping forehead, but look at the size of the brow ridge and how it comes all the way around the front of the face. That's
Yeah.
almost like an orangutan.
Yeah, you look at they have huge brow ridges, just like the Neanderthals did. I would say maybe even a little more than Neanderthals.
I would say more because on the side view there, you see where it comes all the way down around the
Yep.
side where it ties into the
Almost.
cheekbone.
Yep. Almost to
Yep.
the cheekbone.
Now look at the gap on the cheeks there, and this ridge here. There's a ridge along like the temple area that's extremely built up, and that's where the jaw muscle
Muscles
would hook to.
attach, yeah.
So I would argue, I don't know, not knowing anything about it, this was probably a plant eater.
I'm saying it would be like I look at that and the first thing that comes to mind is the structure of the orangutan or the mountain gorilla.
Yeah,
Because like you say, the ridge that follows there where the jaw muscles attached to,
it's hardy.
that's 3/4 of the side of the skull going up like very similar in Bigfoot's.
yeah.
And animals that eat tree bark, tree branches, twigs.
And they have to eat a lot more when you're a vegetarian. You have to
Yep.
consume
Yep.
3 times as much to get any. And then it's got a really, I don't want to say small, but for a human, that'd be a small brain pan.
Very small.
Yeah. And so it's got a small brain pan. So its brain development isn't along the same lines. But yeah, that's a substantial brow ridge. That's the thing that stands out to me.
Yep.
Is that huge brow ridge, and the eyes probably were a little bit bigger, but I mean just the hardiness of that brow ridge. If it didn't need spears, it just face butted things.
Yeah.
Just
Like a Klingon.
yeah.
He's come out of the neutral zone. He's
No, it'd scare a Klingon, or it'd become King Klingon, and it'd have to do that. But that is a substantial brow ridge. It reminds me of Bert and Ernie.
So does this break away from what we traditionally thought, or does this kind of tie into what has been traditionally imagined as far as evolution?
I don't know. They mention in the story I read how they think it might be the bridge between humans and Neanderthals, and then another one mentioned that it might be the bridge between whatever came before Cro-Magnon man and the Neanderthals, which I tend to lean that way because Neanderthals actually get a little taller and a little leaner and have a bigger brain pan than that.
which comes with the need for problem solving. These guys,
Yeah.
probably part of the reason that they died out is they didn't develop well enough for the problem solving, like with the mammoth lesion.
Ice Age hit and they didn't make clothes or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not making a factual statement. The Neanderthals were, we bred with Neanderthals. If you have blue eyes, you've got Neanderthal genes in you. the Neanderthals, they think what killed them out was part breeding. They got bred out because the dominant traits would be the ones that, so like, let's say a Neanderthal and a non-Neanderthal got together and made a baby. The infants that would survive the most would be the ones that carried on less of that big, strong, robust frame.
Yeah.
Because the environment didn't
Suit
require that,
Yeah.
where a more agile frame was what was required, which, so I think mostly got bred out, but there was probably clashes between humans and Neanderthals, but we don't know if humans and Neanderthals looked at each other as different.
Yeah.
That's one thing we can't guess on, but we do understand how genetics get handed down. I mean, it's,
So this finding was accidental. Are they actively looking to find more of these?
oh, I'm sure.
So I would imagine somebody is somewhere if there's the funding for it.
Yeah, and it's in China. There has been complications with looking for fossils in China in the past. China, well, Mongolia has been the most fossil-rich area on Earth
Yeah. Yeah.
because their fossils got buried in dry areas, and so the fossils are just found better. And but you know, of course, you've got World War II eliminated the looking.
Yeah.
And then you have, after that, communist China eliminated the looking. So it was usually Russians that found them during that time. And maybe it's opening back up now, but, you know, and this was found in Harbin, which is, you know, I think in central China. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's a pretty remote area. A lot of times the people that are going through there, the only reason they were in those particular areas is because of the war effort that was moving through there.
Yeah. Well, the Gobi Desert, I mean, that was the first place where people took an automobile on kind of a world trial, I think, was to find dinosaur bones.
Yeah.
And that's into the desert there. And then, let's move your phone just a little bit, or Betsy, if your phones are close to the mics, we hear them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then we've got
I was just looking for some numbers. They were talking about how many different species of hominids or
what's that
Hominoids.
the little gnome guy?
the not the orang pendek. Is that the little?
Orang Pandek?
That was
Is
the
it?
Vietnam little 4 foot tall Bigfoot guy.
Yeah.
And but they were saying that in the past there were so many different species of hominoids and hominids. I get the two mixed up. I know that
proto-humans.
and proto-human. Yeah, so there could have been dozens of these right alongside of the apes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it
Gigantopithecus
might
could
have
been running around the same time.
Oh, well, Gigantopithecus, they think, did in China.
Yeah, see,
You know,
so
and that would be,
that's where the origins was. The first tooth came from
If
out
you-
of China.
yeah, if you were going to count, they were grinding it up and using it to
Making
make babies.
Yeah.
If you were
Baby
going to equate Bigfoot,
Chinese.
well, we got an elk farm here in the county that, is a baby maker. Anyway, so if you were to account for Bigfoot being with a species that we have some fossil records of, not a lot, but some, it would be the Gigantopithecus.
yeah.
A 10 to 12 foot tall great ape that lived in China and Vietnam and Laos down there in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, how humans moved up through Mongolia and then through the Bering Strait and then down into the Americas.
Yep, across the ice bridge. And right on through.
What if Gigantopithecus did that as well, and the humans, that was one of the humans' food sources, along with the, proto camels and the elephants? Or what if Gigantopithecus had started getting a taste for human and followed the humans over?
Became food.
I would almost think that it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
In times when times are rough, I think that they were eating pretty much anything.
Yeah. The dare say the primate family line is one that has the most, aside from bears, that has the
Most cannibal.
most ability to eat across all spectrums.
Yeah.
Well, bears, and then you got rodents,
You know, I was going to call it cannibalism, but if you're not an actual human, you're a Gigantopithecus and you're eating a human, you're not
Yeah.
really
Oh no,
being a
that's
cannibal.
But yeah, that would
Very
be
opportunistic eaters.
yeah, yeah, and maybe even eat carrion. And you know, there could be an argument with the way we cook our food that maybe some of our gross original design is to eat carrion. Because that's what cooking food does, is it breaks it down as if it was pre-digested, like as if by bacteria.
I never thought
Sounds
about that.
tasty. Yeah.
Yeah, it made me hungry. I'm gonna go get me a roadkill burger.
I'm gonna go get me a hamburger, set it out on the counter, eat it next week.
Jumping subject. Did you see that deal that McDonald's did? That sticks around. The guy put the hamburger down there.
Yes.
And it came back like a year later, and it didn't even have mold.
No. How long was it? We talked about.
We
on the
covered
show?
one. It was 8 years.
8
Yeah.
years. Okay, 8 years later, no mold.
None.
8 years, no refrigeration. No, and he just like sat it in. It's on a display now in Sweden, I think, or something.
They call it the Impossible Burger.
Yeah. Ugh. Have you
can't
tried
get rid
that
of it.
Impossible meat?
I haven't.
It's vegetables with way too much salt.
I'm afraid
Yeah.
of anything that's posing to be meat,
Yeah.
I agree.
except for spam. I'll eat spam.
Yeah, it's kind of posing to be meat. It's meat-like.
Then we got some more stories about the Denisovan. This is ancient gnomes offer rare glimpse of Neanderthal family groups. Now, these gnomes, I'm wondering, I'm just going to quickly brush through the names. There was an island that had, over the past decade, geneticists have sequenced the genome, of 19 Neanderthals, but the DNA mostly came from females who were distantly related and lived at sites across Europe, Asia. So we're talking between 400,000 and 50,000 years ago. So that covers
Long, large span.
and they may have been, just hardy enough that the Ice Age was great, and maybe the ending of the Ice Age is what
Took them out.
took them out, because when the Ice Age ended, that's when a lot of your larger mammals started dying off. The woolly mammoth, the elephant, was on almost every continent. It was spread far and wide.
Yeah.
The woolly rhino was everywhere.
You had the camels. There was several different breeds of horses in various sizes.
And it's funny, the camel survived in that extreme cold,
Yeah.
which extreme cold is a desert.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when that extreme cold goes away, the camel essentially just survives in the desert.
It's crazy.
I think a lot of people don't realize in the desert you can get both extremes in 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
There was times working up there in Wyoming that we were 110 to 115 during the day, and we had frost at night,
Yeah.
where it was that big of a temperature swing from, the hundreds. You'd have a 70-degree temperature swing in less than 12 hours.
Yeah, it is insane. And then I should have been ready with this, but there's that island where they found all sorts of little humans,
Yeah.
3 foot tall. It's an island. I forget the name of it. And
I know what you're talking about too. They have the little hobbits.
yeah.
Guys are.
Yeah, I forget the name of. They named them after the island they were found on, but they believe that there was an island just full of them. But yeah, it's interesting. So that leads into think, would Bigfoot or Yeti or Sasquatch, whatever, would that be of the human family tree, or might that be, would that be maybe a separate evolution, after the humans and it, was just hairier and whatever, or would that have been maybe even earlier, like the Gigantopithecus was, and that, and would it, there is a chance it might still be around. It might be a ninja.
Like they were saying before, at just about any given time in the history of the planet, there'd been more than one form of hominids or hominoids. You know what I mean? There's the apes, and that's basically anything that's bipedal, is how they kind of refer to that. He had the monkeys, the gorilla, spider monkey. I don't know all their actual scientific names and stuff, but you can go through and there's multiple types. And then you have the same with the people on every continent. We're kind of the same, but of Asian descent, of European descent, of I guess Australians are Asian, European too. But I guess the point is there's so many differences and variances that it'd be almost kind of silly to think that we would be the only ones now.
Mm-hmm.
So Bigfoot wouldn't be human
That's
ish like
and what if it was just a genetic line completely separate of the human branch? Like Gigantopithecus, I don't think.
had any human in him.
Yeah, I think it branched off long before the human branched down, and the humans branched out of the apes because of they believed the Sahara drying up.
Mm-hmm.
And first it went to grasslands, so they came out of trees. That's what caused them to stand upright, just for safety.
Yeah.
And
so they
also
could see above the grass.
Yeah, see above the grass, and that's why we don't smell as good. Our olfactory is the largest part of our brain. Apparently, I don't know. I've never been in a human brain. I don't even have one. But
But I've read about them online.
I've read about them. Written in crayon. I can follow along. But our olfactory senses has a large proportion of the brain dedicated to it. But when we went to grasslands, eyesight became way more important.
Hence the larger eye sockets for bigger eyes, wider spacing.
And that got us to stand upright, and then it starts drying up more. We start developing not tools, but use of rudimentary tools to obtain food, and then that just keeps on advancing.
Evolutionarily, there are lots of species that are offshoots that don't maintain anything alike one another. So
Well, yeah, Chihuahua and wolf.
yeah, so it isn't that big of a stretch to imagine that, Bigfoot at some point split off.
Yeah, or Dozer and any other dog.
Yeah.
That is a good example right there when you have the canine genes. I mean, you have everything
Now-
from the Chihuahua to the Mastiffs, and
That was selective breeding for the most part, but there's no reason why nature wouldn't cause selective breeding.
Right.
I mean,
Out of necessity.
out of necessity.
it still exists in humans today where, I'm going to offend everybody now, but where females look for a mate that can provide the resources and the genes to carry on, and males look for a mate that provide the best genes, and that's what they look for to carry on.
Well, and
that's
there's
just-
an evolution taking place now that scientists are kind of following in humans anyway, where we're becoming more forward facing because, we're working desk jobs and
Oh,
things.
yeah.
And our eye sockets are actually becoming larger, measurably larger.
You know why they think that is?
because of technology.
Staring at
No.
these tiny screens
The-
on
Yeah.
the phone.
The eyes becoming larger is because that is a trait that men look for in women.
Really? So do you think that
Are you sure it's large eyes that we're looking for?
Well, and also those other parts are
but do
adapting.
you think that evolution is then being pushed forward by the selection of that, and then those genes are going forward?
Both and both. But the person that's more successful in pair bonding is going to be the person that produces on average the most offspring.
I wonder if there were a mass extinction right now and another race were to,
Another animal,
another
cockroach,
whatever,
algae.
were to rise up and dig us up, what would they think?
If they dug us up, I don't know that they surprised they survived that
They would
long.
probably think that we lived in little boxes all on top of each other,
Yeah.
because they would find us invariably in cemeteries.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the thing they would think. They would think that that's how
and
we lived.
they would see, all
'Cause
of
they
the
would be like-
artifacts we leave behind.
They would be like, after, I don't know, 300,000 years ago, we never found them anywhere else again. Only they must have lived
In these
in these flat areas that had little white plastic fences around it. and they all lived and had stones fall on their faces.
Yeah.
And
They
slept-
find that invisible statue that guy made. They're like, this is
Yes.
a piece of art.
Gosh, man, I need to sell something.
You know, it's funny. We look back trying to decipher what was going on through the artifacts that we find in different times.
Yeah, we interpret it as well.
And I wonder how many of them are spot on and how many of them we are totally wrong about.
Yeah,
Where
that's a big question.
They're like going, I would say this is a clock. Or I was just listening to a podcast about they found it in a shipwreck and they thought it was just like this neat little ornament thing. It turns out it might be one of the first computers ever.
The gears.
The gears were perfectly
starts with an A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were perfectly tuned out, and I don't know how the guy studied it or what he's doing or made him think of it. But if I do 37 rotations this way and 21 this way, these line up to be the exact constellations of the planets.
Yeah,
And I think
it's a constellation clock. It's not just a 12-hour clock.
It's like a lifetime clock.
Yeah, it's a big broad clock. It's interesting, and
it has signs of the zodiac. It has constellations. It has the seasons.
It'd be nice if it wasn't so kind of oxidized by the water to actually, because they can pretty much just computer graphic what it's doing.
Yeah.
I'll remember the name of it as soon as the show's over, like every other time.
But we look at it and we're thinking, oh, it's got to be like, it's an incubus, like they use it for adding up their loads on the ship or the total weight or something, or how many carats they're hauling. And the guys, a couple years later and a few $1,000 worth of some guy, they talked about the two guys that led the study on it, and I should have been better prepared.
Yeah, they found it in an ancient Greek shipwreck.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was in a Carthaginian shipwreck.
It actually was.
But it's Greek.
It was Greek of origin, yeah.
Carthaginians are just Greeks after they all moved.
Well, and then how much of our paradigm is going to be shattered the more we find? Like, did you hear that they've now found 13 viruses buried in ice that human race has never seen before?
Can I make a statement? Leave them there.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, when you find them, build a little fence and say, do not dig.
Yep.
Yeah.
Leave them there.
Yep. Well, I think the thing is, you just get out of Antarctica. Nobody wants to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Eskimos didn't want to be there. The polar bears don't want to be there. There's nothing there. Just leave it there.
But prior to the Ice Age, or actually prior to the continental shift, it was found to be
tropical.
Yeah, kind of maybe not tropical as in we think it, but
Probably
tropical that sustained life. But does that have to do with maybe because we've heard about the poles shifting?
Yep.
Does that have to do with something like that? Now, how crazy would it be if the poles shifted? And does the Earth shift back on the pole like that, or might there be our poles laying like Uranus, where it's sideways?
I'm telling you, there is a whole new reemergence of this flat Earth theory.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Oh,
Well, actually, I like the flat Earth theory. I love it. But it can't work. It can't.
It's this
Unless we're all in a kid's computer
it's simulation.
and it's a simulation and he's just letting
He's
whatever
he's
happen.
hit his teens and he's acting like a tyrant. Is that what's happening?
Or he went to go grab a sandwich and little brother's in there clacking
God.
away.
So, Bigfoot. Did you see the video in the Michigan Bigfoot crossing video that was recently released?
I did.
Yep.
I did. And I saw another one in Kentucky where a guy's driving a side-by-side and he doesn't notice it. He's driving along and someone's like videotaping him. They're having fun, He's an older guy, but if you look beyond him, you see something running through the trees. Those
Boy.
yeah.
This Provo sighting, what was it?
It was just another, pretty much like the last one before. The guys were heading up the canyon and they saw something large and dark crossing the trailhead up in front of them. I had heard about it and then I seen the ad on Google and I started reading about it and then I started looking for it again, and it's just when you're looking for it, the same one just doesn't pop up twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that because there's so many of them, or is that because
That's the thing. I think there's a larger population or there's been more and more sightings starting to surface in Utah and the surrounding areas than before. And
Well, and everywhere.
yeah, everywhere.
And is it urban sprawl that's causing that?
Could be. We're
You know,
pushing
I
into
would
their
think so,
territory.
pushing more and more into their territory. More and more people are getting out because they were saying the sightings used to be few and far between. They were loggers, hunters, hikers, backpackers, and a few, indigenous people were. They were seeing them, but they weren't.
Now the
talking about
indigenous people, the prior to us coming, they all had multiple contacts.
Oh, yeah.
With if it wasn't them, with giant red-headed guys.
Now that's the other one there, the mountain giant. Is he Bigfoot? Are they offshoots of Bigfoot?
Yeah.
How are they related? How do
Yeah.
they come together?
What if Bigfoot is the Nephilim?
That's a very powerful theory that's out there right now. There's lots of people that are believing that, and there is Micah Hanks. Is that his right name? No, Micah Hanks.
I don't know, but there's some I've commonly wondered in the Bible. Correct me, I haven't read the Bible ever. I've read phrases and but it says in there that Cain was a hairy guy and he killed Abel and got cast out.
Yeah, he bears the curse of
So-
Cain.
So what if Bigfoot's the descendants of Cain?
That's very possible. A lot of people think it was just Cain and Abel in the beginning, or Adam and Eve, and then they went out and about. But no, there was. I believe it's in Genesis. I'm
There had to have been more than just Adam and Eve
Yeah.
that made Cain and Abel, because what did Abel do?
Yeah.
How did Abel make
Yeah.
Junior?
Yeah,
Yeah, they were cast out and then
they had to
populated.
populate with other people.
So there
that were
had to
there.
be other people.
Yeah, something that they could.
But
Yeah.
they talk about the Nephilim and as being like a Bigfoot and the giants and everything as being a form of a demon, like the sons of God came down and bred with the daughters of man.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
that's
would much rather if they're an evolutionary offshoot
Yeah,
And
than the Nephilim.
yeah. The Nephilim are the sons of angels and or
human women.
Yeah, they're offsprings of angels, and that's supposedly in some of the stories
And
what
they
the
say
flood
that-
was for.
they grew stronger, taller.
Well, there were sons of angels,
sons of angels. Yeah, so they were like demigods, kind of.
and maybe feathers wouldn't work, so they tossed fur on them.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say. They talk about of being like almost of a demon of some sort. That's another theory that they've got floating around right now about Bigfoot and the chupacabra and the wolf, the
Yeah.
dog man and stuff being demonic.
Dimensional hoppers.
Yeah,
Maybe they hop dimensions and move between dimensions. You've also got they commonly get tied in with UFO sightings and things like that.
They're often seen on the ley lines, the magnetic ley lines is where a lot of the sightings are. So I can see where they would, tie them into dimensions and things because
Yeah.
of that.
Well, don't they say that animals use the ley lines for navigation?
They might see. I don't know anything about ley lines. I know we've tried schooling Jared on these in previous shows.
There is a map of all the ley lines, and the
So are they?
migratory birds actually
probably pull
follow
that
the
up.
ley lines.
and
And
see.
yeah, they've just been mapped, by using magnetrons and things. An interesting idea also following the ley lines is all of the major religious sites in the world are connected by these ley lines. If you look at a ley line map, it'd be hard not to, because they are everywhere.
Yeah, that's
That's a pretty good point. I will. For
No.
those watching, I'll pull up the ley lines.
no. I've actually, like Betsy was saying, that they use those to track navigations, like birds and migration patterns. And they did have a deal on there where they had ley lines overlaid with Bigfoot sightings
Yep.
in certain states and areas, and like you say, they almost coincided to a T.
And a lot of the
So we've got a ley line right here in Salt Lake, or a big conjunction, and then you go down here to now what is it? Sonoma is like right about yonder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right up in there. But down there into Mexico, there's one. There's one down in Louisiana. There's a big one in that
That's the
Bermuda
Bermuda
Triangle
Triangle.
area. Looks like upstate New York has
That's
a big one.
The triangle they talk about on the Great Lakes too.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
When
Well,
look
yeah,
up
that'd
there,
be right
they're like
up
all
here.
the shipwrecks on the Great Lakes,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
how that gets overshadowed by the activity that's gone on down in.
So we need to map how far off of this was the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Oh, that's a wonderful story.
That's a wonderful song.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've tracked the migration patterns of like, for instance, the monarch butterfly migrates a great distance, and they follow these. Yeah, they follow these ley lines.
Really? So like right through here.
Yes.
This is where our geese and duck come, right?
Yep.
Down this ley line through Salt Lake Temple right there.
Yeah, that's the
Actually, that would be
Provo Canyon.
that would be the Logan Temple right there, wouldn't it? Or no, Logan would be right here. This would be that'd be right up around Star Valley where all the
And you notice the other ley line that kind of that actually goes through Provo Canyon.
oh yeah.
So, down there in New Mexico, what is that valley of silence where none of the phones work?
Yes, yes.
There's no radio transmission.
Yep.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
and
it
it's-
traps it in there.
for whatever reason, cell phones, electronics, transmissions, all that stuff. It's like everything just goes dead in this one remote desert. And I'm wondering if that isn't smack dab where all those ley lines run across right there.
Yeah, that's
And-
the big one right there.
The magnetic poles are so strong that nothing can get through there. Because that's what they say about the
the Bermuda, Triangle.
and the one up there on the lakes, that they get that. They just can't trust their instruments because the readings are so bad.
It just doesn't pull through. I wonder what other ley line maps there are. There was a whole gaggle of them when you search. If you get a
So-
chance, search up ley lines.
Yeah, and there's a group of people who are tracking archaeological sites.
How do you find ley lines though? What would do you use? Like a magnetometer will
Like
find
the
them?
dowsing rods, the
Yeah.
sticks out there, bent coat hangers, and it just
You
flipping
know-
around till they.
You know, our ancestors, our direct ancestors, our great grandparents
Used dowsing.
for finding water.
They called them water witching.
I think Grandpa Peasnell
Yeah.
did
Grandpa
that when we
Peasnell?
was kids.
Yeah, he
Out
was a
Grandpa
water witch.
Peasnell did do that, and he was good at it.
Yeah, I remember seeing him out there with the little silver wires out back in the back pasture.
Yeah, Grandpa Peasnell would douse for water, and apparently he was good at it.
Apparently it works.
They still douse quite a bit for water in Australia and other arid places like that. It's still commonly used to find wells.
Yeah. Hey, that's outstanding. And then, it's just I don't know anything about ley lines. I should look into it, seeing how I, host a show where we talk about it multiple times. So maybe
And
out of
every
just
time you're
once.
like, I don't know nothing about that.
Yeah, I just wonder, is it a magnetic line? Is it caused by the magnetics of the earth, where the magnetics meet and maybe get stronger or oppose each other? Or is it caused by certain minerals in the ground?
I would almost say there would be a combination, because some minerals have a tendency to be give off more. They're more magnetic, more
energy.
more energy than others.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I should look into it.
And like you're talking about quartz crystals, they have the ability to like hold energy, and like they use them in electronics to generate tiny little sparks. or
Not
to
just, they're starting to look at using crystals to store memory.
Yeah.
So,
because of the
not that I know anything about it.
Yeah.
I'll say right now, I just heard this story. Someone says that, my mind goes, oh, wow, that's really cool. And everything else is right out of Peanuts. Just right out of it. But yeah, I don't know. That's it. That's pretty interesting stuff. And then, of course, we've got some cool stories to finish off the show with. So, A 9-year-old was visiting Hawaii Paradise Park with her family when she found a message in a bottle that had been launched by a Japanese high school club 37 years ago. This is on July 14th.
It had just washed up.
37 years is how long it takes to float from Japan
Under the
to
perfect
Hawaii.
conditions.
But
Yeah.
that is pretty cool that you can
Yeah.
actually send messages in a bottle. Now, if you're asking for food and water,
If it is an
bad.
SOS, this is not a good idea.
yeah, this is not for you. You may as well get what you do is you get a volleyball and paint a face on it, and then learn how to make fire, play with rafts a few times, learn how to spearfish. Humana.
Just hope to God that you're stranded on a desert island with a bunch of FedEx packages
Yes,
that has everything you need. Well, before we get on to crazy stories, since we're going that direction, let me ask you guys this: 100 episodes,
uh-huh.
and you've done the crazy, weird news, everything. What is your favorite weird, wacky story that stands out over this of everything you
There-
looked at,
it
Betsy? What's
depen-
the weirdest one?
You know, the poo jogger is one of my favorites.
Those ones are always good.
Yes, just because I had no idea. It changed my view of jogging as a whole.
Well, you mean your view of stopping your jog to make way to lighten
Yeah.
the load?
Well, like I just hadn't imagined that.
Yeah.
But
And when you run down into someone's yard to, add to the
Just do some landscaping.
fertilize.
Yeah.
Yeah. The poo jar. Mine would have to be the half a man story.
that
Or that-
was pretty funny.
And it's sad. It's a horrible story, and I shouldn't laugh at it. But the guy's driving his car. I think he ran over a jogger or a cyclist. It cut the guy in half and deposited the top half in the passenger seat. And it's horrible. That part's
That's
god awful.
terrible.
It's horrible. But the funny part is the jerk who was driving the car, when the police pull him over, says,
It wasn't me.
first of all, try saying the car is the half a guy's car,
Yeah, it's
his car.
driving.
and then try saying he was driving.
There you go.
Yeah. I would say Florida Man
Takes a
brings
cake
us
every time.
Florida Man is epic.
We had some
I haven't figured out what the combination is. Is it the sun? Is it because they're close to the
it's-
Bermuda Triangle?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's because of their laws. It's because of their laws with media. They have to report anytime someone's arrested. So Florida just has an abundance of stories. No, favorite story is the guy in England who went in to get Botox on his on his shoulder.
Ended up circumcised.
He was like 70, and
He woke up circumcised.
he woke up, shoulder still hurt, but I'll bet he didn't feel a thing. I'll bet he didn't feel the shoulder at all. And whoever had that surgery scheduled,
Yeah.
and he wakes up and his shoulder's deadened from the Botox, but he has to put off the wedding for another month.
Yeah, that was pretty
That's
funny.
got to be my favorite. Yeah, like, Mazel tov, huh? Yeah, that one was good. Yeah,
So the Weird Obscure World podcast was the beginning, and then Happy Hour. That's that's a
That's-
separate podcast,
Yeah.
a little more political and a little more local.
it's only political.
It's all political. That's why I said I can't do it with you.
Yeah.
I hate politics.
I've lost my interest in politics.
Yeah, I
I just get frustrated, and I start researching it, and I get madder.
sometimes I get
then I
angry
go
just
back to
listening
Bigfoot.
to the happy hour.
Yeah, Betsy's a verdant listener, and she's always commenting, and the funny thing is I mean, we've talked to some pretty controversial people on there and subjects, and I'm probably the most controversial of them all. But like, we had John Sullivan on, and he was pretty controversial. Then we've had his brother on 3 times, James, and he's controversial to the other side. We've talked to senators and vice presidential candidates and stuff, but out of all of them, I'm the most radical,
I would agree.
hands down. And I'm trying to tone it down because I'm afraid that either
shut
I'm
you
gonna start a cult or people won't listen because they're like, "What's this crazy person talking about?"
You are a pastor.
I am a pastor.
You could start a cult.
I could legitimately
You
start.
could.
I am Minister Jared.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to
We'll all
write.
drink the Kool-Aid.
We've got to write some hymns. Come before me, my children.
I would say the WoW Pod has stayed pretty true to how we started it. We just wanted to cover weird stuff, whatever it was.
Yeah.
The unknown, the untalked about. And we've stayed pretty true to that. And I would say it has altered my view
Completely.
in every way possible.
Completely. At first, I think our first story was talking about.
We did the Satanic Panic.
Yeah, our first
Oh,
story
yeah.
was Satanic Panic, and then after that was the guy who wrote the Devil's Bible.
Mm-hmm. Anton LaVey.
Yeah, and then I think after that we did spirit boards or Ouija boards, and then we started talking to people, and just interestingly, you know, you start, and maybe it's wishful thinking that makes me think about it, but like the what is it, born again stuff?
Past life.
Yeah, the past life stuff. That seems to be something I enjoy the most. And I know it's not spicy or sexy or anything like that, but it's just super
It's
interesting.
intriguing, yeah, because there's such crazy stories. Like, I heard one about a little girl that was living in the neighborhood. She was like 3, and she just kept having problems. And when she got a little older and started speaking, she was talking about in her other life, she was a man who worked in a company and and they're like, this is crazy. And she was telling them names and addresses and stuff. And they went and looked, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
no, this guy's ex-wife, or this guy's wife, he had died. His wife was there, and like he had died a year before the girl was born.
There's been reports of things being found that they
Yeah.
know exactly where the guy hid his,
Yeah.
hid his treasure. And so those are some of my favorites. We've got to span them out. If I could, I'd talk about that nonstop all the time because I enjoy it. But we have to spread. We have to spread in other stuff too so that we're not just a show that.
I like the
chases us
tarot
out.
readers.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
had a great time with
Yep,
them.
love having tarot readers on, and whether it's real or not, it has a big impact on how you look at it. So, there's got to be something there.
My experience with the tarot cards is they usually always hit something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They always, every time that's something that's hit, I'm like, ooh, wow.
Yep.
Yep.
Wow, what else do you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And then, of course, we love talking about ghosts and demons and Bigfoot and aliens. I mean, those are.
We still haven't covered Bat Squatch.
I know.
That's a hard one. And then you got Goat Squatch, and you've got,
Like, I'm going
There's
to
a goat
Oregon.
squatch?
I'm going to go in search of Bat Squatch.
So it's a Sasquatch with big horns.
well, it's like a hairy goat-headed goat Squatch. And I think it's out of like Kentucky or Tennessee or something like that. It's the goat man of Monson Hill. It's a silly story, but I have to go, well, you got Mothman, you got Dog Man, and you got the Lizard Man,
Yeah.
and you got the Ape Man, and you got
Yep.
Batman.
Lizard Man was in Kentucky,
in
wasn't
Kentucky, yeah.
And then you've got the Kentucky has a few. You got the Kentucky Goblins,
yeah,
and that's a story that a house kind of was under siege all night long
by these
they.
weird.
The theory is that they were
reptile-
aliens, and
Yeah.
their suits made them look, they're gray or
Yeah,
made out of aluminum foil, whatever. But yeah, they were under siege. Like,
but do you know what's funny is Bigfoot used to be not so mainstream now. Now it's not the weird thing anymore.
no,
Yeah. Now it's
marketed. It's on.
yeah,
which
I
makes
got
me
Bigfoot
nervous for
gummies.
it
Oh,
makes
yeah.
me nervous for sightings because as our ability to create these super lifelike suits increases and all of the traffic on the Bigfoot news increases, I don't want to see them coalesce and have more sightings that are just
But hold on, what if Bigfoot, like they're gathered around their Bigfoot hovel doing what Bigfoot do in their house, and they say, they love us.
Yeah.
Let's go
Yeah.
show ourselves. What if Bigfoot sightings are up because Bigfoot say
Because they
There's-
watch the news.
there's
They're
Bigfoot
watching
gummies?
it, yeah.
Don't let the little one too close because I mean they may
eat
want
them.
to eat Bigfoot, but maybe go out and wave, say hi. Build a bed over there.
I think the Bigfoot mom scares me the most.
I think she'd be like a grizzly protecting her cubs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that
definitely.
would be.
Definitely. Now, if they follow along gorillas, then you would have a patriarch that would be the
oversee
enforcer.
the group.
And I think that mostly follows along. Yeah, I don't know. Is there any communal mammal where there's a matriarch?
Well, I would say in
elephants,
and
maybe
lions. Like
Yeah, but they've still got a patriarch in both of those that is the enforcer for the community.
I mean, but the lioness does all of the hunting,
Well, yeah.
and she eats first.
That's her job. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
sleeping.
it's
Gotta make
because
a sandwich.
it's because the patriarch sent her out. Yeah, yeah. You catch me a sandwich. But no. Is there any mammals? Because it's your solitary where the female is generally the more robust and the more defeatist. Where in the community ones, but I don't know. I'm just
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. And maybe
Black
they're
widows.
they're not mammals.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I would think the
Because
grizzly
they're-
bear.
Well, the grizzly bear isn't a communal though. They live separate from
And
each
that
other.
it makes you
Because
wonder if
that's true.
Bigfoot
If you're-
is communal.
if you're a grizzly bear with babies, you don't even want another female around.
Right.
Yeah. 'cause
They
it's-
they will
they're-
straight up wreck.
Is there lots of sightings of Bigfoots where there's, like possibly a male and a female and an infant, or are they
Okay,
pretty
so-
separate?
Well, let's go all the way back to the Patterson Gimlin film. In the beginning, the construction worker Jerry Cruz or whatever his name was, I probably butchered it, but they reported finding 3 different size tracks, like 17-inch tracks, 14-inch tracks, and 9-inch tracks.
So like a familial
So
unit.
that would tell you that. That's why when Titmus and Bob and Patterson were out there, he gets knocked off his horse. He's got the camera. The horse runs. He doesn't have his gun, and he's telling him, "Don't leave me here. There's 2 more," because the tracks that they had seen were of 3 different sizes. So the mother could have possibly been leading them away from the baby. So maybe it was stashed in a bush.
be,
and she's
yeah.
walking off. That's why she didn't run
Or she's rushing, or she's moving to the baby, or
to get in between
Yeah.
them. And maybe that big male, the one with the 20 or 19-20-inch track, he might just be watching from,
yeah.
you know what I mean? That's why they say you don't ever want to shoot one because it might not be the only one.
And then you've got the missing 411 stories.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, those are some crazy stories where they find them in
Miles.
places they wouldn't be,
Yeah.
partially dressed, partially, and
That's
they-
them toying with it. Like, what is this? Is this a shoe?
yeah.
State.
Yeah.
So I'm not eating that.
Yeah, that I mean,
yeah, the missing 411 is still very creepy to me.
there's a primatologist here.
Oh, this lady. I like her.
Yeah,
She's
Now-
from Finding Bigfoot.
yeah. Now,
Expedition Bigfoot. I'm sorry.
yeah, she. Oh, how do I say this gently?
Are you talking about her plastic surgery?
Yes.
Yeah.
She wants to look
Did she dive in too deep?
Neanderthal.
Way too deep.
I don't. She's still a lovely lady,
She is very pretty.
but she has accentuated
Her features.
her features to drag her closer to Denisova. Now she hasn't gone the forehead yet.
Yep.
Maybe she's waiting for more, but
But she's
She
done
says
that
she-
upper lip.
yeah, the upper lip, the whole mouth cradle region.
Cheekbones as well.
Yes, but she has
Was that her intention? Like she's really getting into her.
I'm telling you,
work?
if Bigfoot saw her, she would be welcomed in.
She wants to become
She would
bait.
become the ambassador.
She would be the pinup girl
Yeah.
hanging on the wall of every cave, her and her giant feet.
And it's not like she's still a very pretty lady, but
her certain particular features are much more pronounced than you would find in the feminine face.
Do you know the biggest problem I have with these shows is I used to really just eat this stuff up. Monster Quest. I would watch them all. And I've watched almost every documentary on Bigfoot and Hulu and Netflix and Peacock and Amazon. And now I just get offended when I watch it. I'm like, you honestly want me to believe that you 5 hillbillies are out there in the dark with
monster hunters or whatever it was.
American monsters in America or something.
This guy's our tracker, and this guy's our trap builder,
and he's wearing camel chaps with gun belt across his shoulders and a big cowboy. He looks like Rob Zombie, you know, like Rob Zombie's ugly brother or something, just stomping around. And they're like, we're gonna build a trap and catch the. And I'm like, I'm watching it, and I'm just getting more and more offended. Like, you think I'm that stupid?
I feel that way with ghost hunter shows now.
Yeah,
because I did consume a lot of paranormal shows.
Yeah,
and there has been a
Zach
shift. Yeah, to the cinema type.
Especially once we've been on a.
Yes.
We've seen what they really are.
Yeah. Now that we've been on a couple of ghost hunts, especially, I'm like, I don't know how many days of footage you compiled to get that.
I used to watch a lot of the evangelical TV, but now that I'm a minister,
did not.
Yeah, now it's like, now I got a straight connection to the man upstairs. I can just, yo, God, man, you got 5? Let's talk. But I watch these, and
but this one, she's saying, so she has a box where it makes a Bigfoot sound out, and she's saying that they've got a report back from a Bigfoot.
Oh, well, that would be interesting.
So we're going to try it again.
So now I don't know how loud this is right now. So that's her Bigfoot sound that she's sending out.
Oh, can you imagine if you were unwittingly
If you were camping
out and you heard that?
And then you look out around a tree and she's standing there.
It would be
party. And I mean, look at what she did.
I saw a female Bigfoot.
Bigfoot's breeding with me.
Hear that?
See now, and then they get a light response from off to her right.
After playing a Bigfoot howl into the forest, primatologist Dr. Maria Mayer has just heard something. Return the call.
That was insane.
See? So Bigfoot may have answered her. Do you think...
This is the video that was really good, that Michigan one.
Do you think... Is that plastic surgery?
It has to be.
Has to be. That's... I've seen girls like that around town.
Yeah.
Because she is a lovely lady.
Yep.
She's pretty.
It appears as though she's had some cheek implants
and
to give her a more high cheekbone, and she's definitely had some work done on her upper lip. It's called a lip turn, where they put injections in that actually push the lip out and up.
Because
I
believe as women age, their lips get thinner and flatter to their face, so they look like they're more.
But do you make it to where it actually pushes your nose out too? Because if Bigfoot saw her,
I think he'd be thinking, and that's the missing link. It's like,
straight up.
Let me get a look at those toes.
And then if I'm up camping and she belts out the box, and then I come around the corner and see her.
Yeah.
Well, the bad thing is I would take it down, and then I'd call the FBI. I found Bigfoot, and they would come out, and I'd be tried for murder.
Do you know what's funny is Brent and I were joking one time about the Bigfoot calls, like
I'm going to show her.
Cliff and Bobo going out and doing the calls in the woods, the Squatch call, and I'm going to go ahead and do a knock and a call. What if they're accidentally doing breeding calls, like a mating call?
Yeah.
And a whole, like, you know what I mean? Like an elk bugling, and all of a sudden, all these
then what?
Bigfoots jump out of the bushes ready to, you know, and they're like, well, you're not as hot as I thought. You sounded hotter, but...
You're all right.
What if you hit desperate Bigfoot, though?
Yeah.
I mean, you hit desperate Bigfoot, and next thing you know, you're pushed up against a tree in all sorts of a bad way.
Yeah,
And then we're onto those romance novels. I'm going to make that
I was going to say, you always hear those stories. I was a Bigfoot sex slave or...
Yep.
Betsy's going to read the books for us.
Jared is under the impression that if he buys those books, I'm going to indulge and read them.
Who wouldn't?
Oh.
I mean, a Bigfoot woman?
You know, it'd be
like
funny.
Patty?
I can't.
It'd be hilarious if she got a fetish out of it.
Got a Bigfoot
I
fetish.
develop a fetish.
I've sometimes wondered with
She's got Cody dressing in furs.
yeah. We listened to Aaron and I listen to Bigfoot podcast every single night at bed. I go to sleep listening to it.
Well,
Oh my
we know
gosh.
you have
and
a fetish.
I wake up listening to Bigfoot, and I'm reading the book he gave me, the De-Evolution.
Yeah, Max Brooks. That's
Yeah,
a good book.
I'm reading that, and I've got Sasquatch lives and
See,
all
that's
those
where
other
I got
books.
that theory. What if, like, they talk in that book about Bigfoot chasing humans over the Bering Strait, but I'm like, what if humans chase the Bigfoot?
We're
Because
actually chasing them out.
humans, or just chased it for food, because humans at the time were hunting woolly mammoth and all that. Bigfoot's just another woolly whatever.
Just
I mean,
Yeah.
it's another food.
food is
source,
food,
yeah.
you know.
Well, let's say that there's
Or
areas
what if-
where they're scarce or there's overpopulation or they've. I mean, that's one thing they think that these they might have hunted themselves out of.
Oh well, they state that the woolly mammoth and the woolly rhino were killed. When I say they, I know, but it's stated that humans killed off the woolly rhino
Hunted
and
them
the
to
woolly
extinction.
mammoth. Now, I honestly don't. I don't buy that. I think the Ice Age did that.
I think it's a combination
Mm-hmm.
because let's say that the gestation period of an elephant is 7 years. Is that what it is?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I might be wrong on the
Yeah,
numbers, but
I have no.
so
clue.
let's say that you've got a breeding population of elephants that takes 7 years or 4 years from the time it's in. What's the word I'm looking for? It's impregnated to delivery. From the time it's pregnant to delivery, but over that period of time, they are hundreds of different tribes of these that are killing off
And
hunting off the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
same
like you've
herds.
got Clovis Man
Yeah.
over here where they found. Now they don't know if the spear was in the skeleton, but they found a skeleton of a
Along
woolly
with
mammoth
the
down at
spearhead.
Clovis, Arizona, and they found a spearhead in a woolly mammoth. And honestly, they probably went after the young.
The young, the weak,
just
and
just
they
for
didn't-
ease.
Well,
and
just
I think they
ability.
don't care if
Yeah.
it was male or female.
Yeah,
The young, the old, and I think if
And-
you're going down killing the young off,
yeah, and that causes a big,
Yeah.
a bigger catastrophe.
I do wish I knew like the statistics on like if there was 5,000 woolly mammoths, how many of them are female? Would it be a 50-50 split?
Oh,
Would it be
yeah.
60-40? I mean,
I don't know.
And then let's say that they're hunting and killing off certain offspring and youngins, and what's the life expectancy on how long is their breeding? Are they capable of breeding? Is it all their
Yeah,
life? Is it?
That's all those are big questions, and I mean, I don't know.
And I guess too, when we think about it, we talk about the extinction of or something. That was probably over thousands of years for an animal
Oh yeah,
to
or
be from the time that it was.
probably hundreds of thousands of years. Like if it was the case that humans were going extinct in 100,000 years, we've entered it now and we wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
Well, I want to maybe take that statement back. Let's look at the North American bison or the buffalo.
Yeah.
It didn't take us but 30 years to hunt them right to
Well-
Near extinction.
near extinction.
There's
The
a
only reason
couple of
we have
books-
any left.
There's a couple of books out on that they had started to be hunted to extinction, and this is obviously a
It
touchy
was actually
subject.
prior to the Americans, to the Europeans. It was
It
already
was
under
the
process.
horse, the
introduction
delivery of
of
the horse that started that kicked that off.
I've got the book by Dan Flores.
Mm-hmm.
Does History on Fire. I've
Yep.
got his book on the Great American Bison, the buffalo. The American Serengeti is his book.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got that book. I've read that, and I've also got the guy from Meat Eater,
I love that show.
Joe Rogan's buddy. There,
Yeah.
what's his name?
Brunella.
Steve Rinella.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
got his book on the buffalo, and he talks about that actually Native Americans were pretty rough on the animals as well. So
Well, yeah, they
I
were.
misspoke. I guess what I'm trying to say.
The delivery of the horse made it to where the buffalo couldn't escape.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could follow them.
You could chase them down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could run them down. You could chase them. into
Well, they chased them into corrals, like
Corral,
they built
yeah.
fences and into canyons, and they were talking
or
about
chase them right off a cliff.
right off cliffs. They were
Yeah.
talking about that they would run certain tribes of Indians, and like, oh, the native, and I'm not talking about on Native Americans. I don't know, but this is just what I read. That it's like they'd use everything. Nothing was wasted. No, you just ran 400 buffalo off a
Yeah.
cliff and cut all their tongues out
Yeah,
and left the rest.
tongues and hearts, and
I think there was a lot was wasted.
I read
Sure.
that most of the indigenous didn't eat a lot of the meat, but they went for the organs because that's the most nutrient rich.
And then I guess too.
Well, and they were so plentiful
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
there wasn't really a need. At some point, there wasn't a need to, use everything.
And also,
it may have shifted to that, but
towards the end.
they were a huge herd animal. That herd animals would be competing with humans for real estate.
sure.
Oh, I guess, yeah. How would you stop them if they decided to migrate through your campground?
Yeah,
Look at Yellowstone when they come
Yeah.
right down the road. They look at you. That's like, yeah, so you're a Volkswagen. Big deal.
Yeah.
I'm a Buffalo.
So, but
Right away.
those are all the studies on them. But the horse is what really turned the axe.
Well, it changed the way that we related to them.
The abilities, yeah, and but that's all life competition. Human beings have eliminated a substantial amount of animals. We
Yeah.
know that.
It's an insane amount.
Don't they say something like 12 species a day, every single day, go extinct?
I don't
And
know.
I that could cover everything from sea
Yeah.
creatures to.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm talking hunting them but there was that pigeon. What was it? There's a pigeon that used to be a in every city, in every meat market. There was this pigeon. It was like chicken, and it's gone now, totally gone. And then the introduction of cats to Australia,
Yeah, that wiped
it
everything out.
it killed off like 50 species of birds.
Snakes to Australia wiped out.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And no, it wasn't Australia. Snakes to Hawaii or something. Like ate all the little eggs of the birds on the island or something.
like that. Yeah, there was.
Snake hunted all the snakes out. You won't find a snake on the island of Hawaii or any of the Hawaiian islands. There's no snakes. They've hunted them down.
Well, yeah.
They were like,
Oh yeah. Well, Australia had some strict restrictions on cats,
yeah, yeah,
and cats are the
pigs,
ultimate
too.
land predator.
yeah.
The,
Oh, yeah.
the
cats.
coqui frog has taken over Puerto Rico.
The who?
The coqui frog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It was-
they.
I don't know what
Brought
that
over
is.
by the guy that let all the hippopotamuses go.
Yep.
Escobar.
Yep.
whatever,
Oh,
Pablo.
Pablo, huh?
Yeah. Did you hear about that too? I mean,
Yeah.
I know we're getting crazy there, but he had his own little like zoo in his yard, exotic zoo, and well, he gets busted, and they're like, "Man, what do we do with the animals? Let him go."
Yeah.
So there's a hippopotamus population in Cuba
Yep.
that should have never been there.
Yeah.
That's flourishing.
Well, they don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, I mean,
Now they're hunting them.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
Well,
and-
that started out there were 4. Now
Isn't-
there's 400
Isn't hippos the number one human killer?
in
Yeah, they're-
Africa. More
they're-
people die from
I think in
hippopotamus attacks.
in the world.
They are absolutely
Terrifying.
terrifying creatures.
Well, yeah, they can bite you in half.
And they can run. And you know what? They are meat eaters.
Oh. And they
Well,
run
meat killers,
underwater.
Killers,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
they'll eat. They've shown videos of them eating on other dead animals.
Yep.
No, maybe they're just, yeah. Well, we need to finish this out with one last story,
This is a
and
good
this one is kind of my dream.
I know. I was just thinking that. Like, why would you fight this?
Okay, this lady.
Oh, I heard about this.
This lady in New Jersey, her mom passed away, and the IRS mixed up. This was back in 2014.
Yeah.
Mixed up and called her dead.
Wasn't she trying to get on an airplane or something the first thing? And then they told her, no, you can't board because you're dead.
Well, no, it's the IRS. She's trying to pay her taxes, and they won't
Oh.
accept it.
Lady,
Hey, lady, you are in
perfect
the sweet
position.
spot.
Yes.
Yeah, just disappear.
Yeah, yeah. Stop trying to convince them you're alive. Let them come and try to visit your mom every year. Give them the address. It's the cemetery, Fourth Stone, down the third aisle, whatever. You're in the sweet spot. You what are they going to do?
I can't imagine
and she's been fighting.
Unless she's trying to collect some sort of benefit, why would you fight? If I called the IRS one day and they were like, "Oh, we're sorry, but we no longer have you on our rolls because you actually died," I'd be like, "Oh, thank you. I must have the wrong number."
Well, see, when I heard the story, maybe it's another lady that was very similar to this.
There's quite a few, but this one's my favorite. She is 25. She was 19. It happened in 2014. She was 19 when it happened, and the IRS is 7 years now. The IRS is convinced that she's not alive. She's in the sweet spot.
She is.
I promise you, though, Miss Dressig, if you send money to them,
They'll
keep
take it.
they'll take it.
Yeah.
And if they owe
Keep
you
a record
anything,
of it.
they won't
Yeah.
give it back.
Yeah, she's fighting. I mean, there's a few others, There's a lady in Dominican Republic. Okay, there's a
This
lady
must be the one. Another lady
Yeah.
declared dead.
in France. Okay. I don't have to give the French government money every year. At least, I
What
do
was that?
through the IRS.
Russian power lifter stopped from boarding plane.
Now, this
to
is the
prove she's
guy-
a woman.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Well, it's
No.
hard to tell with the Russian power lifters because it could be a guy. It's like
Yeah.
the German swim team. It could go either way.
Yeah, it could. But how do they tell? Is that part of their inspections
Well,
to get on an airplane? Is
if you don't look the gender, yeah. And
Okay, so
arguably,
this is the woman.
if I saw her,
that's a woman?
yes, I would say I think that you have somebody else's identification because it says here you're a female.
Yeah, that's kind of.
Do you think that Adam's apple jumping up and down might throw you off?
Well,
a
I
little
think
bit?
it's the testicles that threw me off.
Yeah,
I mean, that
But
lady.
yeah.
that's a woman.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
I'm not talking shit. She is a lovely lady.
yeah.
You look very strong.
I compete in that
Ma'am.
federation. I'm not saying a word.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, as a TSA agent or any other agent that, is supposed to ensure that the proper identification is shown, they do check if it says male or female as a way of determining if this is an actual identification card.
What are the nightmares like for that TSA agent after they prove it to you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't mean to see that.
yeah. I mean,
Oh, really? You want to see? And they drop their pants, and then all the nightmares of all of manhood crash in on you at once. Just a tsunami, and you're just washed up the shore like old plastic debris.
Wasn't it the last Olympics where the Olympic board made the German swimming lady disrobe to prove she was actually
Yep.
a woman? And that was the only thing they would accept was seeing her. And she was like, "This is humiliating.
That
I am
is.
a woman."
That
They're
is.
like, "We don't think so. We think," and she disrobed and
We
she
are-
passed the inspection. And now we had to issue an apology because, we got to be sure.
but we are marching towards an androgynous species where you just don't know. You don't know.
And that's how humans die.
And that's, I'm sure, how extinction takes place.
Yeah, this is how we're going
When you
extinct.
just quit breeding because you're afraid.
Or you can't identify. I don't know what you are.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
fear.
But yeah, we are moving towards a much more androgynous.
I'm telling you, put the Bigfoot hunting lady's face on that lady's body, and the package has been made.
Yeah.
They can borrow my beard.
Well, the one thing though, when you go back to the Bigfoot hunting lady, is like the old Sasquatch. I look up there and the hide and seek world champion.
Oh, easy.
Yep.
All of these years, they've eluded science, or is it just one
But
big,
how
big
many-
lumber conspiracy?
How many species have done that? That's the problem, is we've really only discovered in our oceans, just as a way to highlight it,
Well,
7% is what they estimate.
well, the oceans are actually harder to get into than space because of the pressure.
Pressure.
It's easier to build for vacuum than it is for pressure. Well, even on land, but if you look at it, I guess the question is there areas if a creature has an intellect even half of ours and it didn't want to be found,
About that of a
could
chimpanzee?
could it avoid us? Because
I would
let's
think
say
for a time.
what
I would
if
think, I would think for a certain time being. What?
maybe forever, but what if we did chase them over here and they've got a genetic memory to stay away from humans, and they've got an olfactory scent that we have lost so that they can smell? Because deer, if they're hyped up to you, you're not getting within
Yeah,
Right.
100 yards.
Other
of them.
animals, same thing. What was the one that will watch you? Keep you in eyesight.
Yeah. How many?
Antelope or something? We'll keep an eye on you.
Well, what about how about cougars?
Same thing.
How many have you seen in the wild?
I have never on my own seen one, but I know there's probably.
I'm an avid hunter, and I've seen 4 or 5 in the wild in my whole life.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that we're probably
I'm up
within
there.
5 miles of one right
And
now.
when I'm up there, I'm actively hunting, so my senses are higher
Heightened.
alert, and I've only seen 5
Yeah.
in my whole life in the wild.
Yeah.
And that's because a cougar will position itself to where you're not going to see it, but it'll definitely watch you.
Instead of run away, yeah, it'll just crouch down, hunker down. No, you're not going to see it. You're not looking. You're
They'll hide up in the shoals
Yeah.
where they blend in and everything else. So that's a big question. You know,
unless it's hungry, you
So-
probably never know it's there.
Bigfoot, I'm not going to say whether Bigfoot exists or not, but I pose that if something with an intellect is close, that's even semi-close to ours, and I imagine it'd be even more than a chimp, but if it decided not to be seen, it wouldn't be. Like the mountain gorillas,
Yeah.
those weren't
Oh, yeah.
discovered till what,
In
the 40s or
yeah, the 40s. Like
Yeah.
it was late 40s. Like
and they'd always heard rumors about it.
just a
heard
story,
rumors
but
about
nobody
it.
had
Yep.
seen one. The natives, the indigenous people had talked about them like they were a real thing. But
And just the very local indigenous
Yeah.
people. You know, just
Yep.
like the tribes that lived at the base of the mountain would talk
so,
about it.
they come down and they. Yeah.
So, possibly. And if it was a critter that was chased over here by proto-humans, the Clovis man or whatever came over here first, it might have a genetic memory
yeah.
and the physiological tools to stay away from us.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Everyone, let us know what you think. Write back to us.
Well, I'm glad I could be here for the 100th show.
Hey,
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
that's quite the milestone. Do you know how many podcasts never make it that far?
most of them.
Most of them.
Yeah.
95%, I
Especially,
think.
especially ones that just cause you to go broke instead of
Well, everybody's got to have a hobby.
this is my hobby. This is definitely I really enjoy doing. I even enjoy the political one, even though it does drive me crazy. And I think politics are ruining our culture and our
I agree.
they're ruining us because people are putting too much weight into their political views where and they're putting too much weight into a national political view. You're putting that much weight into a political view over 300 million people. Seriously. I
And
could see
while they do that, they're ignoring what's happening in their own neighborhood.
Yeah.
Lives, yeah.
where I could see if you put weight into, 1 million people,
Yeah.
like maybe your city or your
Yeah.
county.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
Or
just
maybe
my
if you just
opinion.
put weight into like anywhere from 3 to 10 people, or
Yeah, like
whatever,
start with
into
the
your
people that
family.
live in your home.
Well,
Yeah.
we're designed to, but I think there's a boiling point, and we could get into this some other
I
time.
wonder if Bigfoot have politics.
Well,
I bet
You
they
know-
do. In their own way.
probably poop throwing politics.
Yeah,
Poop
that's
at each other.
a scat party.
Yeah,
You got the
The
Highlanders and the Lowlanders.
yeah. Gronk throws poop farther.
Yeah, so he's obviously the ruler.
So sketch is training.
So it's basically what we've got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he can throw the most.
hey,
goal the furthest.
dead on.
Yeah.
They are humans.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, we're back on tomorrow. We put this show together special so that we can have less here on our 100th. And then tomorrow we're back on. What's the name of the person tomorrow?
Gail. We're speaking with a lady named Gail.
We're speaking with Gail about
All kind of esoteric
yeah,
stuff.
ghosts and
paranormal stuff.
Yeah, maybe Bigfoot will show up tomorrow too.
Yeah,
but we definitely wanted to have Les on. Les is family, not just
Not just our
genetically,
resident Bigfoot hunter, but
but he's been on the podcast, a handful of times now. It's always fun. It's always a good time to talk.
I'm a
to
little
Les.
worried that you fall asleep listening to Bigfoot and wake up listening to Bigfoot.
I think Aaron is too, and I listen to a lot of Bigfoot. It's just one of those things that I think everybody wants to believe in something,
Yep.
and I go back and forth and back and forth. One day I am convinced that there's a Bigfoot, and
It's-
then the next day I'm convinced that I'm an idiot.
Well, I'm always convinced I'm an idiot, but the Bigfoot part changes while I'm
Yeah.
still convinced.
And I go back and forth, and but I'm starting to get the other interested things going on too. From listening to the podcast, the tarot cards, the ghosts, the
Yeah.
paranormal. Really, it's like, why would I believe in one thing and totally
At the expense of everything else.
and totally dismiss something else? I'm like, well, our house is haunted. Yeah, right. But
did you hear about
monkey
Bigfoot?
living up in Provo Canyon? And I'm gonna find him. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, sure, Les.
What if there's Bigfoot ghosts?
Oh, I'm sure there would have to be.
There you go.
You know
Oh,
what? We'll find out
Bigfoot
when we get to
ghosts.
heaven.
Yeah, or
What if
the
there's
other
not a
place.
Yeah.
I'll see you there.
What if
But anyways, I'm a minister.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
all
yeah,
know.
That's right.
You're fine.
We all know.
Les and I, straight to hell.
Saint
Straight to
Peter.
hell, yeah.
As I walk past Peter, fist bump.
Fist bump.
It's the elbow now.
COVID doesn't make it into heaven. We're
Yeah,
fine.
That's true.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're excited. This is another show brought to us by friend Michelle.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you later.